I know. It's so
He
true.
was always doing that.
Yeah, he was always doing that.
And I always thought it looked ridiculous, but what the hell? He wanted to do it.
He got Glennis though, right?
He got Glennis. She was cute.
And so didn't you.
Also, I forgot to mention, but I agree, sir. We've not had a real Conan movie yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I was hopeful for that first one. It had certain qualities, but there was so little sorcery in it.
Exactly.
It's almost all sword and little sorcery. And the second one started out to be a little closer to Conan, but we weren't allowed to do what we wanted to do when we were writing it. And they kept. Every time we met with Dino De Laurentiis, the budget had come down another $1 million,
That's true.
And they ended up making a schlocky. It still had some nice stuff in it, but the schlocky movie about. The best thing about the movie, the second movie, was Grace Jones, whom we helped cast.
Oh yeah, my favorite was Andre the Giant as the monster at the end.
Oh yeah, well, see, that was supposed to be flying. Dagoth was written in the original script as a winged demon, character, but Dino didn't want to spend the money on, he didn't want to do stop motion animation. He couldn't figure out how to do it any other way, so he made it be earthbound. I just felt that dragged it down a little longer.
Yeah.
The plot is pretty close to ours. I mean, they, except for one or two scenes, almost every scene in there is based on what Jerry and I did, but they just changed it a little bit, added one or two scenes, and we wrote the dialogue because, mainly when you give a second writer a chance to write something, the way they end up getting the credit, if they have to use the plot elements that you did, the way they try to do it is they throw out all your dialogue so that the good and the bad, or what they think is the good and the bad, because that way that way they have a better claim on getting the thing. So we had to fight for
if I had to
we
anyway.
did,
But this
even though
actually
the
this show
story is entirely out.
No.
Yeah. But I loved Conan the Destroyer growing
Yeah.
up. I still love it now.
I like Conan. I didn't like Hollywood, but I liked Conan.
Say that again?
I said I didn't like Hollywood, but I liked Conan.
Exactly. Well, you have a great day, sir. Thank you.
Thank
again
you.
so much.
Thank you.
All right. You ready?
Okay.
All right.
Should I face you or look forward? What do you want to do?
Whichever you're comfortable with.
Which whatever you want for your.
We can do both.
For your visuals,
Okay.
Okay. Because feel more comfortable looking at it when we're talking. Right. But if you want to
we can
the
look
screen,
at it.
okay. Because if you talk to people, usually you face them.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, sure.
What's up, YouTube? I'm Pop Tech. I'm here with Mr. Roy Thomas. You may know many of the things he's done. He's part of Marvel and DC. He created characters like Wolverine, Morbius, Atom Smasher, Division, Ultron, multiple characters.
Atom Smasher. I made up a character called Nucleon, and they renamed him Atom Smasher. I hate the name Atom. It's a good name, but not for that character. DC had two characters already named Atom. They didn't need an Atom Smasher.
Oh, Black Adam and what's that?
No, I meant the Atom.
Two
characters named the Atom.
Okay.
Not even counting Captain Atom.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, but I did co-create. I'm proud of doing it. I'm just kind of kidding around there.
Yeah.
But and I hope you said co-created because very few characters I created by myself. One or two that I wrote and also drew the first picture of, but there are only a handful of those.
Okay.
Because I'm not an artist, really.
I'm the same way. I can't draw anything.
But I did design the costumes of a handful of characters.
Okay.
But so that came closer to creating the whole character. But even then, of course, an artist actually drew the stories.
Yeah.
So I count them as the co-creators.
Well, the costume makes the character, though.
Yeah, but if a person draws that first story and does more, that's co-creating too. It's like Herb Trimpe never counted himself as the co-creator of Wolverine because John Romita designed the costume. But Herb, just by drawing the character and taking him into a story, I felt he added so much he should be counted as a co-creator. If he isn't the co-creator of the Hulk, then George Tuska, who drew the first Luke Cage stories, is not the co-creator because that costume was totally designed by Romita, just like Wolverine's was. So sometimes it's hard to tell from credits in a comic book, like in a movie or anywhere else, exactly who did what.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's one person that created a character, like the Submariner. Sometimes it's like at least four of us or so, not even counting George. In Luke Cage, sometimes it's 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. It's impossible to tell. And of course, even they don't always agree.
Of course.
All
right. Well, I got a couple questions for you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
All right. So, first question: what got you into doing comics?
Well, I was reading comics or buying them before. My mother would buy them for me since the age of 3 or 4. Started reading, right away, and I just never stopped. A lot of kids in those days, you read comics up to your 10, maybe 12, then you got interested in girls or boys or whatever you got interested in, and you quit. Some people would come back a little later. not many. I never gave them up. You know, I brought in the new editors, the girls and everything else, and Elvis and this and that, movies, everything else, without ever leaving comics. Comics kind of left me because I like the superheroes so much, and they didn't have as many of those in the 50s. But I just never gave it up, and eventually I got involved in one of the first of the comics fanzines in the early 60s called Alter Ego. That was the idea of a college professor guy I'd met through the mail, and eventually I took that over, and then I started publishing it, and that came to the interest of some people in New York, and because I was writing them letters to the comics and about the comics themselves and sending them this magazine. Next thing you know, I got a job offer, so I took it.
Okay.
You know.
All right, that leads us to the next question. How was it to take the role after Stan Lee for editor-in-chief of Marvel? How was it?
What, to work for him?
No,
Or to take it over?
To take over, yeah.
Well,
how was, let's start from the beginning. How was it to work with him, and then how was it to take over?
Well, he was a great boss. I mean, you know, no boss is ever perfect. Sometimes I hated him, you know, and sometimes I'm sure he hated me. He either tried to fire me or I'd quit from time to time. But basically, you know, 90% of the time it was a really good relationship. I, you know, had a great deal of respect for what he was doing, you know, as an editor and, you know, and so forth. And just as I did for the artists that he worked with. Because I felt he was the main person kind of holding it all together, even though people like Jack Kirby and others, you know, contributed so very much. So it was a mixture of several people. Becoming the editor-in-chief under Stan Lee when he became publisher wasn't much of a change because he's still there. It's just I'm making a few more decisions. But it was really a little, being an editor-in-chief for Stan for the first year or so, it was a little more like being a shop foreman in a way because he's still there and I'm just doing whatever he doesn't want to do. And it gradually got to be more and more. And as Stan moved out, if I had stayed there longer, you know, I would have eventually, you know, felt more like an editor-in-chief and really in charge of things. But by that time, I got kind of tired of the job and I left it myself. And then a year and a half later, it was offered to me again. And I accepted, and then I changed my mind. I said I had this job once, I didn't like it the first time, so I moved to California instead and just wrote my own stuff.
Okay.
But working with Stan was, you know, 90+% of the time was a real pleasant experience, and working with Marvel was, you know, usually a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. Next question: of all the characters that you have created and co-created, which one made you most proud to see in live action?
Well, one of them would be Wolverine because he became so big, and it's nice to see something like that. Although when he did it, people didn't know I had done it because I wasn't really, you know, going around saying that, and they weren't asking. So that was kind of nice. I liked the characters. Some of the characters I liked seeing the most would otherwise would be characters like the Vision and Ultron in the second Avengers movie, and let's see. Oh, you know, and although the movie itself wasn't really good and got lambasted, you know, I was really pleased to see Morbius made as a movie because I thought that was a really great character, and I thought Jane Leto did a great job of portraying him. I just felt they lost the idea of what Morbius should have been, and they should make a new movie and actually do Morbius.
Just to do a whole reboot and then.
Well, they have him drinking synthetic blood most of the time.
Yeah.
If you have a character who's supposed to be a tortured living vampire because he has to drink human blood, then you have him drink synthetic blood, you're letting him off the hook and you're taking away the main. So the people who handled the story, the acting was fine, but the people who handled the story and the producing, the directing, and the writing, you know, really let the character down.
You talk about Wolverine, the new Deadpool movie. You're going to do the original costume for him. How you feel about that one?
Well, I'm pleased because they haven't really had him in costume much when it is just like a jumpsuit kind of thing. So it'd be nice to see something like the old original because John Romita, you know, is the one who designed that whole look for him and everything. It got altered by other artists, Dave Cockrum, Gil Kane, and so forth. But of course, it's really nice to see the original costume or some version of it back again. Because one of the things I do dislike sometimes about the movies, they sometimes seem too eager to get away from the original costume. For some reason, they'll take the Vision and this character, that, and it'll be sort of like the character, but they've got to have their own stamp. I mean, Captain America, instead of these nice vertical stripes he had, they'd have stripes that looked like they were zigzagging on him. And I thought, why? I mean, it's like they're trying to reinvent the wheel. Like like Jack Kirby wasn't good enough. They have to have somebody design Captain America. Come on, give me a break.
I mean, like you said, like people had the ideas for it. People try to do different costumes and stuff, but I guess they feel like if they make this costume like that, it's theirs now.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Sometimes it worked better than others. Like some of the Vision look, the change they made to the Vision, some of them were good, some of them, weren't so good. But I can understand that they felt like that movies aren't comics, so therefore sometimes you feel let's use fewer costumes and let's make it a little more of this, a little more of that. Some of Jack Kirby's and others' costumes could be a little impractical. It wouldn't work quite as well in live action as they might work in a drawing. So I appreciate that doesn't mean I think that every time they made a decision for the screen, it was a better decision than one that was made for the comics. Sometimes it was better, sometimes it was worse.
Yeah.
That's just the way life is.
it is.
And no two people agree anyway.
Of course not. Nobody would agree.
Nobody agrees with anybody.
Yep. You have any advice for people who want to get into the industry like you?
Pardon me? Oh, advice? I don't know. Get lucky. I didn't even. Although I had tried one sample script once, I never really applied for a job in a comic. I was offered a job as the assistant editor of Superman out of the blue, with a guy I had only ever exchanged one letter in my life with, and it had not been about a job. It had been about a Lois Lane story of all weird things, and I just got lucky that this guy that I worked for at Superman turned out to be such a malevolent toad as far as I was concerned that when Stan Lee offered me a job at a smaller company, but it was half the size or less of DC at that time, I jumped for a chance and quit. And it was really good for me. I think I did better at Marvel, which was really on the way up, as opposed to at DC, which was already there, and I would have just fit in my little cubicle, and working alongside a guy like Stan Lee and meeting all these artists coming in and out in a more informal basis, the way Jack and Steve Ditko and these others did, working with John Romita and Herb Trimpe and Maurice Severin and some of these talents that were even working in the office all the time, was, I think, much better than the strictured life that I'd have had at DC in the early days. So I got really lucky that my boss was a tyrant. I got.
Good. Quick question though. So you did characters, superheroes, and some villains.
Yeah, and other kinds of comics too, but the heroes were the ones I liked the most always.
But what kind of person would you be, a superhero or villain, and what power would you want?
If I was one?
Yeah. Would you be a superhero or villain, and what power?
Yeah. Well, we always want to be heroes. I think even the villains think they're heroes. I don't think anybody ever said I'm a villain. I never heard anybody. But I'd want to be heroic. I'd probably try, but I'd really like Spider-Man. I'd probably try to make money out of it too, like Spider-Man did in the early days and the later days, for that matter. As far as powers, flying would be nice, or invisibility, or whatever, any number of things. But I'd probably just go for brute strength. Having been a little guy all my life, the smallest kid in the class, and a guy who got trumbled in PE all the time, I would have probably just gone for brute strength. So, like a scene, because I'd like to be the guy like a scene I wrote for The Thing in a Fantastic Four, where he's crossing the street and this car almost runs into him, and he just looks down at the guy and tears through the top of his car and hands him his engine. That's what I'd probably want to do. I think that's what about 90% of comics fans would want to be.
Yeah, to be stronger. Yeah.
Yeah, be stronger. Okay. Yeah. Without having to exercise for it.
Yes, yes.
You think about like Superman or these other characters. Superman has all these muscles, right? What does he need for? He's from Krypton. The weakest guy on Krypton, is stronger than the strongest guy on Earth. He doesn't have to have muscles. He can be as skinny as olive oil or something, and he'd still be stronger than Batman or Captain America or anybody,
All right. Last thing, you have anything you want to promote or you want to say?
No. Nice to be here in this. I do my magazine, Alter Ego. I'm attending all these comics conventions now, and that's a lot of fun. About to go to one in Brazil that'll be one of the 3 headliners for a convention in Brazil that's going to have like about 300,000 people or so there. I've never been to Brazil, so that'll be it's sort of interesting seeing the world and, meeting various other writers and artists from other companies and the countries and the fans and so forth, because in the old days, I expected comic books to be a kind of a lonely, job. Like you write in your room, you draw in your room. But at the same time I arrived in New York, they had only the second comics convention ever, the first one that was more than one day, and ever since that, of course, there's been a few more.
Yeah.
And it's nice now because you get a chance to meet the fans get a chance to meet people, and it's really kind of nice to to talk to you, to talk to this person or that person. If I don't ever understood the idea of signing comics, but if people want my signature, I'm happy to sign for them, and if not, that's fine too. And I'd like to see everybody having a good time and enjoying the characters and keeping comics and the films and TV made out of them to be a vital thing. I don't ever want to see it go away again.
I don't think it's going to go away.
It may go down because everything goes up and down, but it'll be around.
I know the movies are trying to kind of saturate everything, but I think at some point the movie can kind of level out.
Yeah.
And then,
Maybe the problem is when you have 2 or 3 Marvel movies a year, and then 2 or 3 DC movies a year, and a few other people trying to be Marvel and DC, and then you have TV and streaming on top of it, you end up with a little too much product. And since there's a similarity in superheroes, it's hard to make everyone good. And the next thing, people get kind of tired of it. There's a little fatigue. But people have been saying there was superhero fatigue now for 4 or 5 years, and there's still some of the bigger movies coming out. It's just that they're not automatically maybe the hits they were before. Mm-hmm. And I think Marvel lost its way a little after the last Avengers movie. In a way, they hadn't known quite what to do. Some of the movies have been good, some not so good. I mean, my favorite's the last Spider-Man with the 3 Spider-Men in it. I think that's one of the best of the Marvel movies ever, whether it's MCU or just partly MCU. But I'm looking forward. Except I want to see the Avengers. The real Avengers get back together. I don't care who they have to play Iron Man. Mm-hmm. If he's from another dimension or another planet, or if it's War Machine or whatever it is, I want to see another Captain America, and everything. The Falcon's a great Falcon. I want to see Captain America back too, though. I want to see them together. And Black Widow too is fine. I want to see a Savage Hulk. No more of this stupid Smart Hulk. I hate the Smart Hulk.
Yeah, nobody likes that.
Let's get the real. Yeah, nobody likes the Smart Hulk. You got plenty of smart people, but a dumb brute. That's what we want to see.
Yes.
And I'd like to see Marvel get back to that kind of thing with the Avengers, to do the real Avengers and not try to make them up as a new group that's got, I don't know, Daredevil and Iron Fist in it or something. Let's get the real Avengers in there.
Oh, you talk about the movies. So there's a new movie out now, the Marvels.
Yes, I saw it last night.
Yeah, but you got Captain Marvel in it. How do you feel about how you portrayed her?
Well, of course, I never did it as Captain Marvel. I made up the Carol Danvers character and had her get saturated with some radiation that my friend Jerry Conway later, when they made her into Ms. Marvel for a while, used that as the basis of it. But I never. But of course, the Captain Marvel I did was the old Marvel character for a while. They used a lot of elements from that in the movie last night. They had these bands that they hit together. That was mine. Of course, Carol Danvers in there, a few other things. They used a lot of elements from the old Kree-Skrull War that Neil Adams and the Buscema brothers and I did together. Except that they've ruined it because, my whole point was the Kree and the Skrull are equally bad, and I hate it when the Skrulls are the good guys. I mean, the good guys and the Kree are the bad guys. To me, they should both be bad, but that's their version of the Kree-Skrull War and my version. I hate their version of the Kree-Skrull War, but for the movies, it's probably just fine. I just don't like it because it's not what I wrote, and so usually I don't mind what they do to things I wrote. With the Kree-Skrull War, I very definitely mind.
Got it.
But they've still done some many good things. I think I love seeing all the Marvel movies. Some of the DC movies are pretty good too, and love to see more of them.
All right. Well, thank you for the interview, real quick, and thank y'all for watching. This is Pop Check and Roy Thomas.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, you have my card, so.
Yeah.
And does he have Instagram? Or does he have Instagram?
No, yeah, I run all this stuff.
Okay.
Tell you what.
When I do it, I'm gonna tag him.
I'll try. I usually
this is what you do.
stumble
Go
over.
to
For some reason, I
Facebook.
have a tendency
You
to
got your
mess things
phone?
up like
Yeah.
that.
Just right now.
But I will try.
Because I run all the social
Yeah, I don't
media
know
and
why.
everything.
I've
And then
memorized
so you
whole
can post
parts
it up
for
there too.
plays.
Number one,
I
first
was a singer. I
request
know
me
hundreds of
on
songs
Facebook.
that I've never sung in live before, and I can get up and sing them. But give me a couple
That's gonna be
lines
my
and say,
channel page.
"I'm Roy Thomas, and I'm here at this convention," and I'll stumble over it every time. But okay, we'll get close enough. Okay. Hi. My name is Roy Thomas, and I'm here at the. I didn't even remember the name of the con. Eastgate something. Okay, I knew it was Eastgate, but I wasn't sure of the rest of it. Is it Comic Con? You don't have trouble from San Diego with that? They used to be upset about people calling themselves Comic Con, even though they didn't invent it. I just wondered.
So you can just say, hi, I'm Roy Thomas, welcome to Eastgate Comic.
Okay.
It's my pen name.
Hi. Okay. Hi, I'm Roy Thomas. Welcome to Eastgate Comic Con. Come here and have a good time.
Let's just do it one more time.
Right there. Boom. Okay, so just request
Hi,
me.
I'm Roy
you
Thomas.
did already.
Welcome to
Let's see.
Eastgate Comic Con. Come on down and have a good time.
Oh, no, you might have to. So what I can do
Cut the
is,
last part off. It comes out tomorrow.
I'll go to
Okay, great. All right.
trying to find a picture I
Well,
can do or something.
Yeah, hadn't been here before.
Can I comment on
I
it?
may have passed through, but I.
I'm
Hey,
because
yeah.
your page, my personal page, your page is the same way.
Yeah, my
So
wife
I
and
commented
I
on
had
it, that way
really
you
fun.
know
We
that's
plotted
me.
this because
Go
we
Lakers,
figured
go-
every
first,
president
go to
of the United
Roy
States
Thomas,
had been on a certain day in
appreciate- yeah, we're gonna put that in.
1942,
That's so weird.
years
Why
before they
can't-
were president or
why-
whatever.
Why wouldn't it have?
The next one, I
How
think,
can't you not-
the next one would have been George Bush, I guess, or something.
Alright, so we'll do this. Let's see the Roy Thomas.
Yeah.
And then you can
So
press-
so we
and
got
I'll let
everybody
you in
through
on
Reagan.
this.
You know, we had every president that was that was alive during that period. We went out and found out where they were. My wife did the research on that. So this became a.
Right here. So
Well, it
when
wasn't
I let
easy.
you in,
My wife's a good
that's his
researcher. I'd have to
only
ask her.
Right? You're gonna,
I don't remember,
then
but
you can post all
this
your
is
stuff
this
on
is
there. And the other thing is go to your
1980.
Instagram.
Okay.
What? Middle 80s sometime. 84. Yeah. So. I mean, had
So
word
search.
processors, but I wasn't on the internet or anything like it, you know,
This
at
is
that
where you
time.
can
Even
follow them.
what little there was of it, I wouldn't have been on for another decade. But she just,
Boom.
I don't
Yeah.
know, she probably went to the
That's all-
library or something
we do
like
all the
that.
social
Of
media
course, we have a
and all
lot
this
of
stuff on
research
there,
books
too,
at
so you
home
can
with
tag me.
history.
So
of it.
I'll let you in
But I'm
on
sure
the-
she had,
the Roy
you know,
Thomas
because
book.
some of it,
And then when you
you
have
know,
the
like
stuff up,
Nixon
you can
was on
post
some
and all that
banana
stuff.
boat
Yeah, I
somewhere
can
on
have it
on a
edited
trip
and
and was
posted by
seasick.
Tuesday or
evidently,
Thursday,
you know, the
whatever you
whole
want,
time,
whatever you
but,
want.
Because I was.
you know,
Put it-
this guy
put
and
it
that
everywhere.
guy and so
It's
forth.
gonna
You know,
definitely-
Jimmy Carter was some kid.
Thank
you know,
y'all so
walking
much.
down a thing, you know, and so forth. And Reagan was a movie
I'll be walking around,
actor,
so I'll probably see y'all before I
you
leave.
know,
Before y'all
so
leave out today,
better
though.
movies and